So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our daily meeting with Art and Life. Today, our show is the art of success through health, and we will discover together a wonderful world with a special guest. But before to introduce to you one of the world's most important business leaders, I would like to call here with me my friend and partner. Hello from Nigeria, from Indonesia, from South Africa, from all over the world. My partner, Andre Perry, is here with me. Welcome, Andre. Welcome. How are you?
Hi, great, Gianluca, and it's terrific to be here today and together with us here in Monaco, and we look forward to presenting our very special guest all the way from New Zealand. So we're really excited to have him here today, and it's been a long time coming, but we're here, and let's crack on.
Yes, it's really a pleasure, and we must say thanks also to Chris to organize. In the best way, everything. People start to stay with us from China, from Germany, from Philippines, from Singapore, from South Africa, from Ghana. Everybody is watching now. And so today it's our pleasure to introduce to you, my friends, one of the world's most important business leader in the world of health and nutrition, all the way from New Zealand. We speak with Graeme Clegg from New Image International, who went from being a farmer to establishing one of the most important health biotech companies in the world and helping hundreds of thousands of people improve their health. So, Andre, it will be an amazing moment with Mr. Graeme Clegg. Before to introduce him, like always, our wonderful musical introduction. Let's go. So here we are, Andre. It will be an amazing show today.
And, yeah, wow! I was just looking at those pictures and I'm going, wow, that's amazing, terrific.
Yes. So let me introduce to you our special guest from today, Mr. Graeme Clegg. So welcome. How are you? Graeme?
Well, it's really special to be talking to you from New Zealand. Thank you for the introduction. As you can see, I'm enjoying a very, very exciting life. But we've had a beautiful day here in New Zealand today, and I can assure you that your Saturday is also going to be similar.
Yeah, no, it's terrific, Graeme, to have you on the call. A lot of people won't know, but you know, we've known each other for over 30 years, and we reconnected, I think, 27 years ago, 3 years ago in London, and now we're doing a call here in Monaco, connecting up New Zealand, and it's terrific to have you on board. So it's a pleasure.
Well, it is, Andre. One never knows what tomorrow is going to bring. But a lot of people really don't know much about New Zealand. As far as the world's concerned, we are the Switzerland in the health food area. But New Zealand is at the top of the world. We get conditioned to look at a map of the world and we think Europe's at the top. But of course it isn't. The world is round, so it depends where you come in from outer space. So we're the land of the Lord of the Rings, we're the land of the hobbits. And so everybody take a close look at what the map of the world should be like with New Zealand at the top. We really are the centre of the universe.
Yeah, for sure. And, New Zealand's had some fantastic news over the last, in amongst these challenges that we've had globally. New Zealand's had some really positive news on the way that they've handled these current challenges. And, we're at the top of the world, of course.
Well, we were fortunate to shut our borders quickly. Being an island, we've been able to control very, very quickly the spread of the COVID-19. This week, we've only had 7 cases during the week. So we're moving through into another stage on the way to getting back to normalising.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Brilliant, Grim. We already have some interesting questions. To you to better understand when did you start and how?
Well, it's an interesting story. I lost my mother and my father and my younger brother all with cancer. I realized that I was probably genetically programmed to also die of cancer, and I decided to do something about it. You see, you can predict what your likely demise is going to be, because if you don't change your diet, your lifestyle, and your traditions of what your parents or your grandparents did, then you're likely to die of what they died of. So I decided that I'd do everything that I could to find ways to avoid the Grim Reaper. And to date, it's been very, very successful. I didn't start New Image to make money. I started New Image to save my life, and it's just been absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that's terrific, and the people that have been around a long time have seen that journey that has been made from your humble beginnings right up to now as a global icon in this health and biotech industry with as you said in the title, improving people's lives, and we'll get onto that later on in the call. But yeah, I mean, you came from humble beginnings. We actually come from the same area in New Zealand. But maybe you can elaborate on that and give us that first bit of the story of how you started.
Well, you could see by the opening video that I started virtually my career as a sheep shearer. You see, I remember when I went to school and I was only very young, the teacher said to the class, if you want to get rich, you've got to work hard. And I bought that story, so I asked, what's the hardest work that anybody can do? And they said in New Zealand, it's shearing sheep. You see, we had 5 million people and 60 million sheep. So everybody in New Zealand's got 12 sheep. And every year we have to harvest the crop of wool. And so we're only paid on performance. So the harder you work, the more money you earn. You would not believe it looking at me now, but I shore sheep for 23 years before I woke up. And one day a friend, a mentor, said to me, Graham, you're working the wrong plan. You're not really getting what you're capable of doing. I said, what am I doing wrong? He said, you're using physical muscle instead of mental muscle. And that really turned the light on. And I realized that the power comes from the mind, not the muscle. And I think one of the key attributes of becoming an entrepreneur is to harness the power that we have of our creativity, of our ability and our skills, and maximize them. So that's really how I got started. And of course, I sold the farm. There was depressed prices at the time, and I went up to Auckland with virtually nothing but a dream of what I wanted to establish. I knew we had to set up our own company to get the quality of the products that I wanted. because I wasn't satisfied with what was out there in the marketplace. So fortunately, I met many of the right people, was able to learn all about how to manage tablet making and powders and formulation, etc., and had no idea that it would end up 35 years later as a global movement.
Exactly, and of course we've got a lot of comments at the moment on the beard.
Well, I thought that might be the case. We actually have a lot of our New Image leaders following us on this call and following us on Facebook. And I'll tell you the story because I had a seminars booked throughout Africa and our African countries. So I flew to Dubai and then to Lagos in Nigeria, did seminars there, and then to Accra and Ghana, through to Uganda and to Zambia. And I got into South Africa, and you know, this darn virus sort of followed me. I was one step ahead, had to cancel a seminar in Cape Town, and I caught the last flight on Emirates out of South Africa to get back home. So I could not believe I arrived back in New Zealand and they put me into isolation. I don't know why they were worried about me, because no virus could get through my immune system. But in protest, I decided that I wasn't going to shave. And so I'm leaving the beard on until I've got my freedom to be able to move around New Zealand. I've been getting some good comments about looking sophisticated, honest, and scientific and all of those sorts of things. So I'm just trying to get a bit of an idea now as to how long it might stay there or when I might take it off. But that's the explanation.
Yeah.
You went from being a farmer to establishing one of the most important companies. Do you remember your first sale, your first customer?
Yes, I do, because I was the first customer, and I'm still taking more products than anybody else in the world today. I'm actually the guinea pig. We're experimenting in all sorts of areas of life extension and to be able to have fitness. And you saw in the opening video, I'm a fitness fanatic. Not looking too bad at 80 years of age, still being able to do 2 kilometers on the rowing machine, 5 kilometers on the exercycle, my martial arts in the gym and weights, etc. every day. In fact, I had a good workout before I came onto this call, just to make sure that every brain neuron was oxygenated. Yeah. So you got to look after your body, because you've only got one. You see, where else are you going to live if your body packs up? And that's what we've got to be thinking of. And one of the tragedies is that people eat to satisfy hunger, but they don't eat to satisfy their nutritional requirements. And you know, we've got to change a lot of the habits today, not realizing that with processed foods, they're lacking a lot of the nutrients that the body actually needs. So supplements are nutritional insurance. But when I started, it was almost heresy to say that you needed vitamins and minerals. And today we're still getting media articles looking for sensation to say that you don't need supplements.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's quite clear that the hundreds of thousands of people that have been and millions of people around the world who have taken supplementation over the years can attest. As you said, it's insurance, and you know, it's wonderful, and that the products have evolved over these many years. So you know, and everybody's on the call can attest to those as well.
Yes, well, that's right. Well, I'd just like to tell you a little bit about colostrum, because I learnt more nutrition from the animals than I have from the scientific community at that time. Now, I had stud sheep, and I knew that people that had valuable animals and even racehorses would spend hundreds of dollars a month on supplements. The more valuable the animal, the more supplements. Cobalt, selenium, etc., were given to them. And so I thought, well, if it's given to animals that are precious, your children are more precious. So why don't we give them to our children? I also learned about colostrum. Now, for the listeners, colostrum is the first milk that's produced by every mammal when they give birth. So we are a species. Humans are top of the mammal food chain. The only difference between man and a chimpanzee or an ape is 2% genes. The only difference between man and a horse and a cow and a dog and a rat is 4% of genes. So we can take colostrum from any mammal because they all get the same infections: food poisoning, blood poisoning, diarrhea. It doesn't matter. So the fact of getting colostrum from cows means that it's much more potent than human colostrum, because mothers are very hygienic, and so they're not going to have the same antibodies and the same factors in there, the bioactives, that the bovine colostrum has. So I got curious, and at that stage we only thought the colostrum influenced the immune system with antibodies to prevent infections. But we've learned so much with our scientific team over the years, doing many clinical trials, having published papers, having patents and trademarks on our products. And we realized that colostrum is multifunctional. That means it harmonizes all functions in the body, so they're working together, not against each other. So colostrum will normalize an overactive immune system. Somebody that's getting allergies and problems have got an overactive immune system. It needs balancing. And it will also strengthen an underactive immune system, which means you're getting colds and flus every winter and picking up everything that's going around into the community. So it's been a pretty exciting journey to realize how many other functions that colostrum can actually do.
Yeah. And
I want to try it.
Yep. We got the first Italian.
We have a question from Charlotte. As a successful globalpreneur, was there a point along your journey where you could given up on your dream? How did you overcome that?
Oh, look, there's been many times in the journey where I've been betrayed, I've been disappointed, things haven't gone the way I wanted them to go. And it took me sometimes to realize that that's normal. You see, the more problems that you encounter, the more active you are, the more you're pushing boundaries, the more you're trying to find a way around the obstacles. And I remember there's only one place where there is no problems. And every city's got this place, it's called a cemetery, because if there's no problems, you're dead. So while you're alive, while there's life, expect there to be problems. And they are to challenge us to be able to strengthen our resolve and our skills, because in the end, you only own what you have learned from your experience. And that becomes very important. Don't get distracted. Don't look for shortcuts. There are no shortcuts. Understand that wealth is created solely with delayed gratification. Everybody wants the trophy today. They want to be paid today. They don't think of tomorrow. You see, for 35 years, I've reinvested back into New Image. I put everything back into the company because I believe in the future. And I just want to make sure all of the people that put their faith in myself and the products get what they're looking for. That's the most important thing, to make a bit of a difference out there. So the more we influence other people's lives, the more we help them, the more return that we get back for our efforts. So income is only relative to the number of people that you're actually helping and benefiting. That's it in a nutshell.
Exactly, Graham. And as you said, it took you, as I say, 35 years to become an overnight success. And And over those 35 years, you learnt. You went through these problems and challenges. You learned how to overcome them. You learned new skills as you work through this process. And these are the things, as Jim Rohn used to say, the life is a ladder system. You keep on moving up the ladder because you keep on learning new skills to be able to help you identify and work through those individual challenges as they come through. And problems are really a decision that sometimes you don't want to make. So it's about making decisions, whether they be right or wrong. Sometimes you don't know, but you have to make a decision and move forward. And I think that's a key lesson for a lot of entrepreneurs and people who are starting off in their career, is that you will face many challenges, and what you see on social media is not necessarily true. And a lot of things you see is that it's taken people a long time. People always think that you were like this all the time. But there was a time when we all started in one place, and we progressed in life, and we moved through. So, what you were saying before just, extravagates that whole thing.
Yes, that is so true. And, there's nothing more uncomfortable than staying on the same step on the ladder. Ladders are meant to go up or down, whatever it is, but not meant to stay in the same place. And I recall we just got the manufacturing plant going. We actually bought Pfizer Pharmaceuticals manufacturing plant. And then we had the 89 crisis, and property values fell. We were selling products in Indonesia and Philippines and in Asia at below our cost price because their currencies were so severely affected. A lot of the big companies from America and elsewhere pulled out of those countries at that time, but we stayed there at a loss because we didn't want to let people down. So I can remember that we had a number of defaults on selling the property to be able to get the capital to keep going. I also had to take out a hire purchase agreement on my car. I've got to confess that I had 2 hire purchase agreements on the same car. That's what you got to do sometimes to make sure that you can stay ahead. But you must have the confidence that you're going to make it. And so we did have a comeback. There was no question of that. And so, I don't like to reflect back on many of the challenging times. I'm looking at the good times. You see, nobody's ever really been a new image that's left and done better than they did with us. And I don't know anybody that says they didn't have a good experience. Whether they stayed with us or not doesn't matter. The fact is, we have influenced people. We've changed their thinking. Because in life, it's not only the money that you're making. You've got to take into account the value of relationships, the value of communication skills, the value of experience and learning about nutrition. And it's wonderful to see children coming up in families just like you did, into a family that was just accepting good nutritional and supplements as the normal. And look at where we are today. It's amazing.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's a key thing just on that point, because there were many times when I was many people will know who my father is on this call, that I was dragged to many meetings when I was young, between the ages of 10 and 14, and we were doing 5-hour road trips, and we were listening to these speakers on success and motivation, and I was there young thinking, oh my God, I have to go to another meeting and sit and watch. But actually, a lot of this has been 90% of contribution to my success has been able to learn. And I didn't realize it at the time, but now going back, the last 20 years in my career and where we are now, it's dramatically changed my life, as well as nutritional products, because even from my time in the Army, I was taking the New Image nutritional products even when I was in the Army back in the 90s. So, all these things have really made an impact personally on my life, and that wouldn't have been so if we hadn't had the New Image back in the 80s and the 90s. So thank you.
Yes, well, that's right. It's just amazing how much we do retain subconsciously. And that's where the strength is in our subconscious mind, And, what you think about is what comes out in your life. But people don't want to accept responsibility. If they're going through tough times, they ask for it. If you're going through good times, you also ask for it. But, you've got to experience difficulties at times to experience the exhilaration of overcoming, of victory, of achieving what you wanted to achieve. You see, that's the fuel that keeps entrepreneurs going. That's the fuel that brings out the creativity so that we can see niches in the marketplace. We can see opportunity that other people don't see. And I think that's what's an important thing. Awareness, what's going on around us. We're going through difficult times. Just imagine being a pilot today, or running an airline, or running a hotel accommodation, and in tourism industry. They're in very, very difficult situations outside of their control. But we're fortunate that our promotion of our business is all socializing, recommendation, and we haven't lost anything, only face-to-face discussions, but we've still got all of the social media, all of the other opportunities to pass our story on. So it's important to understand we don't sell anything. And it's a misunderstanding when people think that we're out to sell. No, we're not. You take the product, you experience the benefits, and you tell your personal story. If you haven't got a personal story, don't get involved. But so, it's a very ethical system that we market, because nobody gets paid for doing nothing. And we're seeing dramatic changes in distribution around the world today, because it's become ineffective because of high costs of rent, high cost of wages, high cost of people that just shuffle paper and they don't actually produce or contribute anything. So our system of recommendation marketing is all about getting paid on what you do. Nobody gets paid for doing nothing.
Yes. Chris wants to know why is New Zealand colostrum recruited to be the best? Really?
That's a very good question. New Zealand cows are grass-fed. They're out in the pasture where cows were designed to be. Cows have 4 stomachs. They're called ruminants, and they eat grass. But in the United States and in Europe and many other countries around the world, they're fed in barns. They're like cage cows. They're living on concrete. They're being fed corn and antibiotics. I'm going to talk about that in their feed. And so they're in a different micro environment. They're not getting the antibodies that they have in New Zealand. In New Zealand, the cows have coronavirus. You may not realize that. So they've built antibodies to the coronavirus. And we've been able to show in laboratories that the antibodies actually neutralize the SARS virus and quite a lot of other viruses. And we'll be going globally shortly with some other exciting information on what antibodies might be able to do against the coronavirus that's around the world at this time, because they're all the same family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because a big part, obviously the largest part of your success is the health is your true wealth, and that's always been the key. And as we go through these challenges of COVID-19, I think more people now are becoming more aware, astutely aware of these things now, and will be looking for how to build this immunity better, and really understand now the world is going to be a different place. So
Andre, you're right there about the awareness. We've been so badly let down by politicians, and we've been badly let down by some of the scientific community, because for thousands of years there's been cycles of microbes and plagues, and so people don't There's no excuse that we're caught with this. You realize they haven't produced a vaccine for SARS that was 17 years ago. So there's no vaccine, and we're talking about having a vaccine in under a year for this coronavirus. And so let me just share a little bit more in this area, because colostrum is a spiritual product. A lot of people don't realize that. It's a gift of life. We can go back 3,000 years ago to the ancient Egyptians. Their main god they worshipped was called Hathor. She's shown as a woman with the horns of a cow. And they believed that Hathor spiritually enhanced the souls of the deceased to go to everlasting life. And they knew that colostrum was the only security to save them from the plagues. And then we can look at the Bible. The Hebrew word for colostrum is halab. It's mentioned more than 40 times in the Old Testament. And of course, the Muslims also, with the Quran, recognize the Old Testament. You go to the Book of Buddha, and it talks about the 8 auspicious substances for life. Number 1, oxygen. Number 2, water. Number 3, the curds. The curds are colostrum. And it doesn't matter whether it was the Incas, the Mayans, and even the Hindus today still worship the cow because of the healing and properties to help people survive the various plagues that have happened around the world. So we've had lots of warnings, and there's no reason why we weren't prepared. But the good news is these plagues never killed everybody. In fact, they were just sorting out those that had weak immune systems. Because when we look at nature, it's all about the survival of the fittest. And as human beings, we make decisions. We're intelligent, and we should be eating the right foods, and we should be looking after ourselves. And we should be making sure that we don't get pollutants in the food chain and in the air, because they all have a savaging effect on our immune system. So if we've got an impenetrable immune system, there's no virus or bacteria on the planet that's going to wipe out everybody. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, very.
We have a lot of questions. Arturo wants to know what are the advantages of new image colostrum versus commercial colostrum?
Well, not all colostrum is equal, and it's important to understand that. And as I talked about barn-fed colostrum not having the antibodies that the grass-fed cows have, but also in the processing. Now, a lot of colostrum is processed in milk plants where they have high temperatures and pressure, and they're actually destroying many of the fragile biomolecules. So Mother Nature created colostrum for babies. Now, babies don't drink Coca-Cola and eat Big Macs, as we know. So New Image worked with nature and with our science and technology to create the, what's known as alpha lipid, which is a liposome delivery system to take the bioactives into the cell, but also to protect them from adults' gastric juices so that they are not destroyed. So much of the colostrum around the world is diluted. I have seen colostrum that is 98% milk powder and 2% colostrum. So we make sure that we have the highest grade. In fact, we have medical grade colostrum. It is a food, but it's a very, very high quality. Why? Because I'm the #1 colostrum taker, and I take the same products that everybody else takes. And often you don't see that in companies that are only interested in how much money they can make. I'm interested in how long I can live. Because, you know, at Harvard and many of the medical schools around the world, they believe that the human body's programmed to live to 120 years. You see, I'm still looking at 30-year plans at my age because I haven't slowed down a little bit. The only thing I'm embarrassed about my beard is I'm a recycled teenager and they don't have beards. It gives it away, you see.
Yeah. Patricia. what I don't understand is the colostrum product is not a medicine. It's help to feel good, and what else? For the bad diseases, it could help but not cure. Does the medical corporation recognize the effects?
Well, you see, we've got to understand why colostrum isn't recognised. In 1928, Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin. The pharmaceutical company said if we can control infections with our drugs, we can become very, very wealthy. We can control a large percentage of the world's finance. And so all of that knowledge has been suppressed that I was talking about. Go and do some research on colostrum and you'll be absolutely amazed. So we're all about making the world aware that there are alternatives out there, that the body is complex, and colostrum with a baby kickstarts the immune system, the cardiovascular system, the energy system, the digestive system, the nervous system. It's got all of the peptides that trigger the processes of the body to be able to work at optimum. So it's sort of rebooting, reprogramming the software. You see, your immune system is a supercomputer. It's on autopilot, thank goodness, because you're not thinking about breathing as you're listening to this. You're not thinking about blinking or digestion or your blood pressure or your temperature or your digestion or your hormones. Thank goodness it's on autopilot, because we'd screw it up every morning, wouldn't we, if we had to switch everything on. So we take it for granted that everything's going to go fine. You know, we wake up in the morning and there's a pimple on our face and we say, oh my goodness, that's the end of the world. Well, there's a lot more things that can go wrong. And so we get lots of notifications that things are not well. On your computer and on your app, you get messages to say, upgrade. We're aware of that. Upgrade the software. Well, the same's happening with your body. You have indigestion, your body's saying you need an upgrade for your immune system software. You get colds or the flu, or you get cuts and scratches and bruises that take a long time to heal. All of these warnings we ignore. We get a headache, so we take a painkiller for the headache. Is that getting at the cause? And the answer is no. So New Image, and what we believe with colostrum being multifunctional, is that it's repairing the software, repairing damaged DNA, making sure that the body's working at optimum. And I want all the listeners to understand that we cannot repair degenerative disease. When something's broken down, it's broken down. It's like your car. If you don't put oil in the car engine and it seizes, if you put oil in it, it's not going to run again. Do you understand? As I said before, if you don't look after your body today, where are you going to live in the future? Because the food you eat can be the safest, most powerful form of medicine, or it can be an insidious poison. It's up to you, your choice.
Mm-hmm. And as you said, Graham, you know, colostrum has a huge impact on the gut and the stomach, and many people, you know, now, and you've recognised this many years ago, that the gut is a leading area that can cause a lot of issues in the body, and this is what also colostrum has a major impact on.
Well, I'm pleased you mentioned that, because much of the science today is on the microbiome. What we've got to understand is that there is good bacteria and good viruses. 7% of our thinking is controlled by viral DNA, believe it or not. I think that explains why there's some crazy people out there in the world today, and they're blaming the virus, not themselves. So we've got to work in harmony, because there's many times more microbes in our body than there is cells. We're actually only 46% human and 54% microbe. That might sort of concern a lot of people to understand that. So when you take an antibiotic, it's indiscriminate. It's going to wipe out the whole microbiome and take some time to come right again. So if you've got the right microbes, you can attack obesity. And so they're looking at microbes for weight reduction and all sorts of things. So the gut is a very, very important part of how the human being is functioning today. So in colostrum, we've got prebiotics and probiotics. You've got to understand they're mammal probiotics. They're not man-made. I call some of the antibodies that they are manufacturing in laboratories Frankenstein antibodies and Frankenstein probiotics, etc., that are out there. So there's many more probiotics that haven't yet been discovered. And I've got to tell you that we have 9 scientists working full-time trying to unlock many of the secrets of colostrum. We've been able to map the human genome, but we have very, very little knowledge about colostrum and what it can do. But watch this space, because it's taken 35 years to create the awareness that we have today. And just to finish this section, it was 30 years ago we published a book called The Microbe Apocalypse. And we said that the threat to the human race wasn't an asteroid from outer space. It wasn't a nuclear holocaust. It was microbes that we couldn't even see, the invisible enemy. And now we can see what impact that's had on the human race and also on the economies of the world. It's going to be a long time before we get this sorted out. And I don't want to be a pessimist, but they will never get rid of COVID-19. Once it gets into some of the African and South American countries where there's extreme poverty, where there's lack of hygiene, it's there to stay. So we've heard a lot about the herd mentality. You've heard a lot about people needing to strengthen their immune system. And I think colostrum is going to play a major role in helping to make that possible, that we have an impenetrable immune system, a fortress that no bacteria and viruses can get through. You see, every 20 minutes, a bacteria and virus doubles. So you go from 2 to 4 to 8 in an hour. In 7 hours, you've hit 1 million. In 11 hours, you've hit 1 billion. You can go to bed at night, you picked up one virus, and wake up in the morning and your body's been hijacked. And you see, with COVID-19, it's 4 days before people know they've got it, but it's highly infectious over the 4 days. That's the big difficulty. It's not as anywhere near as contagious and dangerous as SARS, but it's got that COVID advantage to get into your body. And it's not the virus that's killing people, it's the collateral damage that's done. It's what it's doing to the lungs and turning the immune system against itself and producing what's called a cytokine storm. And that creates all the fluid in the lungs so that you drown. It stops the oxygen getting into the red corpuscles. So you end up with high altitude disease where you can also die with lack of oxygen. It's affecting the kidney and the liver and other organs. It's confusing the immune system, so you get secondary infections. So a lot of these people are dying of pneumonia and other secondary infections, and that's where it's particularly dangerous, and why something like colostrum in conjunction with all of the medical solutions that they have can make a big difference.
It's also good for children, and during this lockdown period, if I wasn't able to get to a supermarket, could I live off colostrum shakes and still receive all the nutrients I need? So children and nutrients.
Well, it's nature's complete food. That's all that a mammal starts life with. Colostrum to protect against infection for survival, and it's only 3 days. After the robust immune system has been established, then milk or food becomes the next necessity for life. So yes, absolutely, if you wanted to, we have a shake called Alpha Lipid Lifeline, and it would completely sustain life. It would get a little bit boring if we didn't have some variety, and of course we need some extra fiber to keep the ribs apart and everything else, but yes, it is a complete, perfect food.
Yeah, and I think I just make the comment, Graham, that that colostrum is just reiterate, the colostrum is the first food that most humans ever have when they're born.
Yes, all the mothers would be aware, and the doctors and the midwives know of the importance of colostrum. So if a baby lamb or a baby calf, when it's born, if its mother dies and it gets colostrum, it'll be dead of infections without 24 hours. And this is where I got alerted that there was something special about colostrum. And you've got to realise it's been produced specifically for mammals. We've got a lot of competition and confusion out there in the marketplace. There's many products being sold, botanical products. A plant can't be compatible to a cell. But the beauty and the advantage of colostrum is it's specifically designed for mammals, and everything's in balance. It's got the right vitamins and minerals in there. It's got the right probiotics, and it's got all the right bioactives that we actually need. So it is a superfood. There's no doubt about that. Yes, it's actually kryptonite for microbes. So it's a superfood, right? It's a superfood.
Exactly. And I think that's the main thing, for having you on, it was to talk about your story, your entrepreneurship through life, your success, how you got to there, which you explained to us, and then when you're achieving that success or on your journey, you have to protect your health in the best way that you possibly can, because you can't enjoy your success if you're 6 feet under or unhealthy. So it's the main thing is to while you're building your journey to success is to look after your health, to be aware of eating the right foods, to be aware of taking the right supplementation, so that you can enjoy the comforts of and reap the rewards of what you've been working so hard for.
Absolutely right. I'd just like to touch a little bit on a cancer prevention lifestyle, because as you know, losing my family was really tragic, and I won't be the only one. Every family in the world will have a loved one that succumbed to cancer. And cancer is simply renegade cells that the body doesn't recognize. So we have a system, or Mother Nature's absolutely perfect, that we have what's known as natural killer cells. They're B cells and they're T cells. They're circulating in the bloodstream, and they're looking for terrorists, renegade cells, old cells, and they destroy them. We don't know what it is that one day they miss one cell that mutates and starts to become cancer. So what we're seeing today is the latest cancer treatment is known as immunotherapy. So they take the natural killer cells out of the blood, the patient's blood. In a laboratory, they claim they can turn the memory back on again, and they inject them back into the body. Now, this is very, very expensive. I understand in the United States of America, it can be $300,000-$400,000 to have that treatment. Well, the body's able to do that if we can switch it on. So I want to make a disclaimer right now to listeners. We don't claim at all that we can cure cancer. Nobody can do that. We can't even claim legally that we can prevent cancer, because there's a lot of legislation that prevents natural products being able to be promoted or expressed with benefits which are very scientifically proven, but they can only be sold as food or nutritional supplements. Otherwise, they've got to go through compliance, very expensive regulations, etc., to be medical. But we can virtually claim a medical food, and that's what we work on. So here's where I'm coming to. Recent research has shown, and the publications are out there under Publish Med, there are more natural killer cells in colostrum than blood. Would you believe that? So with the antibodies, the same thing applies. So colostrum, listen carefully, is blood serum filtered by the mammary gland. It's got every bioactive that blood has in it. So it's important that we get this message out there and people understand where the support comes from and how we make it happen. So if your immune system is functioning properly, the natural killer cells will be doing their job, and hopefully we can lead cancer free lifestyles. It's
Yes.
worked for me. It's worked for me.
I want to buy.
My brother was dead at 46.
Yeah. Yes.
Great. If I want to buy, or also our friends, I look to all the hundreds messages where I can buy your products and how I can start. Which are the first products I need to buy from you? Because I've seen that you have a lot of products.
Yes, well, we've especially set up a new image shop, particularly for European users. Right now, we're starting opening up in the United Kingdom. It will spread from there into other countries in Europe. But we need large numbers of leaders to help us open countries because that's how the recommendation system actually works. And so we do have the new image shop that people can go on to. We've got the Euro prices there. If you click on a product, it gives you a little bit of background information. We've also got Facebook, and it might be possible for you to show both those sites for the listeners as we're nearing the end of the program, because we'd love to hear from people. We've got to expect a little bit of a delay with couriers for getting product out to people, but everybody, Amazon and the rest of the world, is experiencing that. But one day we'll be in every country. Just to give you an idea, right now there's over 600,000 customers a day using a new image nutritional supplement or a beauty product, because colostrum is just as powerful on the outside as it is on the inside. Colostrum has epidermal growth factors. Epidermis is the skin,
Okay.
so it helps in that particular area. It also has ceramides. I'm talking mammal ceramides, not Frankenstein ceramides, which are in a lot of the beauty products that are sold out there today. So we have the two opportunities for people to connect if they would like to.
Rim, I confirm to you that from now, from this moment, from what time is it? What time is it now?
In New Zealand, it's 10 to 8 at night.
Okay, 10 to 8. From now, you cover with the distribution, with your distribution, France, Monte Carlo, and Italy. Andre, you told him, you already told him?
We told him, yes.
Okay, from now, from this moment, okay, your distribution, your products are distributed from us in French, Italy, and Monaco. This is our agreement. We want you.
We make it happen. We make it happen.
Like exclusivity, and we cover these countries, okay?
Look, I really appreciate that. I want the listeners to be aware that this is not a sales marketing focus. This is about education. This is about awareness. This is about options that could make a difference. But everything I've talked about is basically common sense. You see, good nutrition is intuition. We're born knowing what's good for us and what's not. But we seem to think that we can get away with it, particularly as teenagers and early on in life. And that's when we do a lot of the damage to our bodies. So if you want a long life, you got to start young. You got to make sure that the body is nourished with everything that it actually needs. So there was a mention about children. And I must say that there's growth factors in colostrum that will help increase the number of neurons that are being developed in the brain. So if you're looking for intelligence, it can be an intelligent booster. It will also, with the IGF-1 and the growth factors in there, help children to become taller. So this is not a new image product. It's not something that we've designed. It's a natural product with intelligent design. So it's Mother Nature's foundation of good health. I'm excited about it because every day we're picking up new information, new ideas, and new direction.
And just to reiterate, Graham, again, you know, we wanted to do this call with you today, as you said, not to sell, but to to both educate one on your story as the entrepreneur who has grown this great business over 35 years, but also to bring awareness on the challenging times that we have. And I think the demographic of the world will definitely change. I think that more emphasis will be on the health, but also people will be looking at their entrepreneurial status and seeing whatever they choose to do in life, whatever they choose to do, whatever supplements they choose to take, make a decision and learn from the experiences that we have all gone through over many years.
Yes, thank you for that. And I'd like to ask one thing from our listeners. I need help because I'm leading a global movement to force governments to ban the use of antibiotics in animal feed. I want you to think about it. All of the poultry, all of the pigs, all of the cows, all of the fish farming and the salmon are being fed antibiotics. 70% of the world's antibiotics are being fed to animals. So this is where the mutations are taking place. So not only are we fortifying the viruses and bacteria, we're getting the antibiotics into the food chain. I want you to think about it. It's got to be stopped. There are other alternatives out there because including it in animal feed is solely for prevention, not for treatment. Does everyone understand that? And if they would take that message and lobby governments, I think we will get this banned within a very short time. There's going to be a lot of opposition, you can bank on that, but it makes common sense to stop this practice.
Yes, and people, as you told, people must be educated, people must know you, because if they know you, your products, they start to buy from you and live the better way.
Yes, well, there are many options out there. We would just like to think that our 35 years of research and experience puts us as the global leader. We were the first in the world to make colostrum fit for human consumption. I'm recognized as the colostrum king. I'm humbled by that title, but I really was the first person to create awareness again in the last 90 years since they've had antibiotics and suppressed all of this wonderful historical information from ancient times.
Yes, yeah. And I think that's important, just going back to the original point, that this is something that is thousands of years old. This is not something you've manufactured. This is something that is thousands of years old. It's natural, and that it has been around for so long. So I think that's fabulous.
Well, it is. It is clearly the foundation of good health, and I hope that our listeners have enjoyed the various components of the presentation, and when you put them all together, it's pretty much common sense. Mother Nature has equipped us with everything that we need for a long, healthy life, and it's important that we don't screw it up.
Yeah.
For
exactly.
sure.
So I think that Graham, I think as an entrepreneur, we need to keep on challenging ourselves in the way that we're thinking, challenge ourselves in the way we're eating, and the right supplements that we're taking, and that people can visit the New Image Facebook page, the newimage.shop link, and we'll post that down below as well on the link, so people can visit there. But I think that it's been really great to have you on board, because 35 years ago, who would know that you'd be here now? I would be in Monaco, and Dad would be in South Africa, and John Luca would be here in Monaco, and we'd love to tell John Luca's story as well in these next stages as well, because that's a fascinating story tied into the whole entrepreneurship as well, working alongside yourself.
Yes, well, that's great. I just like to say to people that are aspiring for greatness, what's important is don't get distracted. What's important is to persist, to get over the obstacles, because each obstacle that you conquer, you own it, you have the solution if it ever crops up again. And there's only ever going to be so many obstacles on your journey. And so the more experienced and skilled you are, the higher the price that you've paid, the greater rewards that are entitled to you. And just don't be impatient. Understand that you will eventually get rewarded, not for everything that you do and not when you expect it, but when the universe says your time has come.
Exactly.
Yes. And Andre, remember that from now, Green has a new market. Has a
That's
new
right.
market.
I can't wait to join you.
We will take care of France, Italy, and Monaco. So
That's it.
and I would like to remember that tomorrow the show will be broadcasted in our cable TV in Monaco and in our cable and satellite TV in Italy. And everybody could see the show on Facebook, okay, for all next week. Here, okay, the tomorrow programs.
Yeah, so we
Wow.
we're very fortunate that Gianluca has these 3 luxury channels, and that we'll broadcast that across Monaco, Italy, and France. And that yes, they'll be able to see the link in the description below. I'll share that if anybody wants to rewatch or share that link to other people to watch.
Well, I'm sure social media will spread that message. And, you know, it's historic tonight. And for the New Image members that are listening in, it might be the last time you see me with my beard. So we're going to take a vote as to whether I should leave it on or whether I should leave it off. I've enjoyed chatting to you. I really have. And I wish all the listeners the very best, good health, long life, and take care.
Yeah, thank you, Graham.
Thank you very much. And we also would like to say to all our guests from France, Monaco, and Italy to call me, Andre, to discover the king of colostrum and all the benefits of your products. Thanks, Green. It was a really big pleasure to have you here with us, the man who slowed down time. I hope to see you again in the next weeks for another wonderful show together and share the benefits of colostrum here with all our friends and customers. Thank you.
I'd like to invite you to my 100th birthday, and there's only 2 conditions. One, you got to bring a tennis racket and your dancing shoes. Is that a deal?
Yes, sure.
Good. All right. See you soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Grim. It was a real pleasure. It was a real pleasure. Win. Always a push, never give up, and win. Music from our back office. Thank you and see you soon.